Thank you for joining me. Okay. Hello, Joe. Good evening. So, how was your Christmas celebration? Did you eat a lot? Okay, so here we eat a lot. I think that's the number one thing we do. I ate a lot for the last 3 days. So today we're gonna cover how to paint fireworks, and just the easy way. But I'm gonna show you another way if you want to explore further. But for now, just really easy and something that you can enjoy and do many times over, different fireworks, different photo references. But for this exercise, this painting session, I chose this one. Okay. So if you have a reference, you don't have to do everything. Sometimes you can eliminate some if you feel like it's too busy for you. So feel free to do that, okay? When you have your reference photos, you can totally tweak it to your, preference. Hello, Vivian. Okay, so I always do that. So even if I have a reference photo or model or anything, even before I start painting, I decide, or midway, I decide some elements I really don't need to be there or want there. So you can do that too, okay? So just, it's your work, so nobody can say that it's wrong. All right, so now I'm gonna flip it down, and today I'm gonna use watercolor blocks because I don't want to stretch today, and I'm gonna be doing a lot of wet on wet, so I want the paper stretched. So if you don't have time, or if you're feeling lazy, then that's where the watercolor blocks come in. All right, so I'm gonna flip it down now and then flip it around. Okay, let me just flip it around. Okay, so now it's the right side. Okay, so here is my reference. I just have it here on my phone so that it's small enough to fit. Okay, and I have my stand, very useful. Okay, so there are so many different kinds of watercolor blocks. There are square ones, rectangular ones, long ones like this. So again, it's up to you depending on what you like to paint. Okay, so here I'm going to start with just a regular rectangle because it's almost the same as the reference photo. So the sizing will be not too much of a difference. Okay, so if you like, especially when you want to frame this later on, then you can line the sides with masking tape to have that nice clean edge. You don't have to do it, but if you like, then you go ahead and do that. But in this instance, the sides are going to be mainly black, so even if they get covered with frame, I don't mind. So again, up to you. Okay, so here our reference photo is here. You can see it. I'll bend it a little so you can see too. Okay, so I'm going to use a variety of brushes, so I just have them ready here. You're probably going to need your flat brushes for this one, for later when you cover the whole page with the night sky. So just have them there ready. But for now, I'm going to do first the fireworks, the explosions. Okay, so you can sketch beforehand or not. In my case, I will, because I just want a basic guide of where the circles will be. But you don't have to if you're, if you're feeling more spontaneous about it. Okay, so I'm just gonna 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have this 6 fireworks here, so I'm just gonna, doesn't have to be perfect, just a general placement of it. Just so I can see if I'm going to be painting in the right section. So if you don't like your pencil marks to show through, if you just want to avoid that, then you can go ahead and use your watercolor pencils. Okay, so use your watercolor pencils to sketch. That way later on, it's just going to be covered. When it gets wet, it's just going to blend with the paint. Okay, so I don't know if you see it, so I bring it close. Just very, very light sketching. You can hardly see it. Just really as a guide on where I will be putting my paint. Okay, so now that I have that down, I'm just going to take a look at my fireworks. And if you can see, it's not just one color. So you can even change up the colors. So you can use 2 to 3 colors on one explosion. So have fun with it. That's the nice thing about fireworks. You can do it as colorful as you want, and it will be awesome. All right. So for this, I'm going to use from Allegro and then from Sereno. So from Allegro, I'm going to use the warms, the yellows, the reds, and then from the Sereno, the blues that you see here. Okay, so I'll just have them both ready. That way, they're just here. Okay, so I always like to have my swatch cards handy. That way I can easily see which colors I want to use. Okay, so you may or may not want to use your mixing palette. Again, it's up to your working process. Okay, so I can just pile them on top of each other. Okay. All right, so just set everything up. Ready? Have your paper towel ready. Okay. Very, very, this is a must because you really need to control your water. Okay, so I'm just going to use a mid-sized or 8 to 12 size round brush. So these are really awesome because you can cover a big area. Okay, so I'm going to start with the biggest one, which is kind of yellow-orange. Okay, so I'm going to do the center a deeper orange. So I'm going to get this. Okay, and then mix a little bit of scarlet just to have the brighter orange. So again, if you're not sure with your colors, then have a swatch paper ready so you can swatch your colors. You can see if you like it or if it's too light, too dark, things like that. Okay, so in my case, I'm just going to add a little bit more. Okay. And so before you paint it here, what I want to do is I just want to wet the page beforehand. That way, the color will diffuse and bleed softly. Okay, and then I'm going to get my orange and just dab it in the middle. And so it's going to create this nice explosion. If you want it darker, just add more. And now I'm going to get this nice Jaune Brilliant. This color is called Jaune Brilliant, and I'm just going to dab along around this orange. So you don't have to make this too dark because you want it to be like fireworks, you know, like bright and sparkly in the night sky. Then I'm just going to add more orange here in the middle. Again, I'm just going to dab the center of the explosion. Okay, and then I'm going to add more on the edges. I think I want this bigger. So don't worry, because this will all be covered later with black all around. So nothing has to be, you know, finely blended or things like that. This is a very relaxing thing to do. Okay, so now I have this orange one here. So I'm just going to work on the warms first. And then I'm going to go here to a more reddish one. But it also has bursts of yellow. So again, let's just wet the circle first. Okay, so go beyond your sketch because you want the color to reach out. That way later when you do your sparkling, it's going to be a bigger, you're not too limited. Okay, so wet it enough. Okay, so if your paper is really sucks the water quickly, then it means you need to add more water. So just leave it with a glossy sheen and that's going to be great. Okay, so I'm just gonna start first with this bright yellow with yellow deep here all around. A little bit of lemon yellow. So you don't even have to do the exact same colors that you see. If you want to make your yellows warmer, brighter, up to you. Okay, fireworks come in all different colors. Okay, so now I'm going to add streaks of red, but it'll be soft. So I'm going to use my flat brush. Okay, so I can just streak it like that. I'm going to get this red. This is crimson. This is a nice, bright, neutral to cool red. And then I'm just going to do like this. Okay, so again, doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, you're going to cover a lot of this later on. Okay, so I'm okay with this. A little bit more here, just extending. Okay, next. Now I'm going to go to the cooler ones. Okay, so let's switch palettes. Okay, so I'm going to give this time to dry, the one right here. I'm not going to work on this. I'm going to work on the outside first. Okay, so even if your paper is stretched or in a block, you will still see some curling. That's fine. But since it's stretched, when it dries, it's going to help keep your paper as flat as it can. Okay, so don't stress over that. Of course, it's going to get wet, so it will buckle a bit. Okay, so next, it's some sort of turquoise-ish. So I'm going to use turquoise and viridian, but with the centers yellow. Okay, so I'm going to start with the turquoise first. Okay, so just pale. So again, you can test it out on your mixing plate and see if you like the depth of color. So you can always try it out if you're not feeling unsure. That way, no regrets. Okay, so I'm just gonna, okay, before I do this, again, let's first wet this. Okay, so make sure it's wet enough. So this is cold pressed paper, so you need a little bit of wetness when you work on it because it really absorbs a lot of the water right away. So I'm gonna cover the whole space of this. And then I will add a little bit of viridian on the outsides. Okay, on the outer section, I'm going to add viridian. And okay, I like it. So just add water to the edges if you want it to be softer. If you don't want the hard edges. Okay, next I'm going to work on this part. Before I add the yellows, I'm going to wait for it to dry a bit, just a bit. Okay, so again, turquoise. So there's overlap, okay, like how fireworks are in the night sky. Here, people are so excited. It's not even New Year, and you hear fireworks and firecrackers just, you know, going off. Okay, here I'm gonna mix viridian and turquoise. I'm gonna make it a little bit more greenish. Just a little bit, not too much. Okay. So remember, I'm still going to add the centers later on. Just giving it a little bit of time to dry. Okay, so here, let's add some of this yellow deep, the center. Okay, and here too, dab of water, then yellow deep. Okay, and then here too. So they all have centers that are bright. It's like where everything starts, the explosion starts. So it's this bright burst of light. So that's what they are. Okay, and finally here, so there are actually two overlapping fireworks here. One is a little bit purple, so I'm just gonna use French ultramarine. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of red, just to give it a warmer purple tinge. Okay, so carmine is a cool red, so it really makes for nice purple. And the edges have like this yellowish sheen, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of lemon yellow to the edges. But it's getting muddy, so I'm gonna wait for it to dry, because you know, yellow and purple, they make a brown, so I don't want that to be brown, so I'm gonna wait for this to dry. Okay, and finally here, again, turquoise. Okay, so I'm going to use my blow dryer just so I can hasten the drying time, because I need it to be dry before I work on the next few steps. Okay. So I'm going to add the lighter parts on these two ones. Okay, lemon yellow for this. So remember, before you keep on piling your colors, make sure that, you know, those two colors don't create a brown or gray. Like earlier, I almost created a brown. Okay, and I'm just gonna soften the edges. So all around, I'm gonna give it little bits of yellow. And then under, there's some purple, just a little bit. So I'm just gonna add it here and there. But you don't have to copy exactly what you see. So you don't have to stress about it. And then I'm gonna add a bit of orange here and there for the other sparkles. Okay, so as you can see, everything is just rough and just relaxed. I'm just adding a very thin wash here of bright yellow, because there's some sparkles here. And then below as well, I'm going to use some turquoise, because there are fireworks exploding below as well. with a tinge of green, of viridian. Okay, so just have fun with your colors. This is really the perfect time to have fun with it because it's really an explosion of light and color. Okay, so I think I'm ready. So I'm just gonna dry it again and then go to the next step, which is to use your crayon or your candle. So you want this to be really dry so that your candle or your crayon will leave its mark properly. Okay, so in my case, I like to use the other end of the candle. I can't find my crayons for the life of me, so I'm using my candle. I'm going to use the edges here so that it has a sharp edge, really good for creating the texture. Okay, so starting from the center, go around and create the explosive pattern. Okay, so use your crayon, your white crayon, or your candle wax, preferably just the plain one, not the dyed one, not one with color. Okay, because you want the colors that you applied here to stay the same. Okay, so I'm just going to go around. So since you don't really see it, just make sure that you're not overdoing it, because you don't want to cover everything. Of course, you want your colors to show through. So just try to keep an eye out on the strokes that you create. So don't do it too lightly, because you want the crayon or the wax to actually draw on your surface. Okay, so in my case, I'm just twisting the paper around so I have this nice circular pattern. So go beyond your colors so that you also have the nice bright tips. Okay, so do that for all your explosions or circles here. And I twist my candle around so that I can always have the nice edge. So it's a challenge because you don't really see exactly the strokes, the marks that you're doing. So just to try to keep in mind your progress while you're doing it. Okay, so don't try to make it too even. You want how it looks like. You want how the fireworks actually look like in the night sky. They're fairly circular, but they're not exactly even. Okay, so here I'm trying to remember if I've actually worked on this circle or not. You can kind of see a little bit, but barely. So take your time, okay? You're not in a hurry like me, so take your time, enjoy each part of the process. So I'm gonna draw longer ones, just a little bit longer here and there. Okay, and here too, remember? We did this. And then there's some parts that have like circular bits. So also include those. And then here I'm just gonna use the softer parts and create little circular patterns, like little sparkles. And finally, the parts going up. Okay, so don't forget those. Okay, so I think I'm happy with this. Then now we can go with the next part, which is to paint everything over with black. Okay, so in my case, I'm gonna layer with a mix of black. So not just black. Okay, so let me just get my cat's tongue so I can cover a bigger section. Okay, and then I need to get a lot of water, so I'm just gonna use my syringe. So you can prep stuff that you know you're gonna use a lot of. Okay, so I will create my own simulation of black. I will still use black later, but for now I want a deeper color, so I'm gonna use a little bit of the violet. So this is a deep violet. I like it. Okay, so you need a lot of it when you have a lot of water. And then I'm gonna add blue. So I'll add French ultramarine. So that my sky is not just a flat black. Okay, so you can layer colors like this. That way you won't just have a matte black sky. Okay, and I'm gonna add a little bit of the red as well. Okay, so this is gonna look a bit purplish, but that's fine. That's what I want, because I just want that first color before I layer on the black. Okay, so let me just move this. Okay, ready? And I'm just gonna brush it all over across. Oh, wait. I actually want the centers to remain yellow, so I'm just gonna go over this with wax. Okay, there you go. Almost forgot that. Okay, so just top to bottom. Okay, so just work it. Okay, so I'm actually running out of mixture. Okay. Right, so that's your first layer. And as you can see, you already see the contrast between the colors and your background. So this will be a study of patience, so you need to do layers. Okay, so layering must be done. I know, right? The wax, the texture of the wax, the crayon, when you sketch them, they actually look nice. They look like they give the fireworks character. So they're not smooth, they're very textured. So that's why I'm also using cold press paper, because it has just the right amount of texture. Okay, so I'm gonna again mix my next layer. So I might have to do 3, who knows, we'll find out. Okay, so because watercolor dries lighter, so it's always a practice of patience and taking your time to observe what you end up with. So it's good to stop every layer and take stock so that you can see if you want to add another or not. It gives you time to think about things. So now I'm going to go and add black this time around, because I really want a deeper sky, but I don't want it to be a flat black. So you have to be careful when you're using your blacks. Some blacks are more transparent, some blacks are very granulating, some blacks are flat. So if you don't want a flat color, then you mix another color with it. Purple, blue, red, depending on what kind of black you want. So again, layer. So this is why you have to be patient, because if you just judged by the first layer, it's going to be like, wow, it's not looking like fireworks. But the more that you darken the background, the sky, the more that the colors will pop out. So you just take your time and do your layers. So but allow each layer to dry properly so that you don't keep lifting the other colors. You want each layer to be there to stay. So if you use a nice sized flat brush, then you can cover more area and have a more even painting. Okay, so it's nice to have a 3/4 or 1 inch flat brush, because they will come in handy when you're doing this great big washes. So get in there, get in the middle, make sure everything is covered evenly. Okay. And we have our darker sky. And I love it. I like how it's looking. think I'm gonna finish with another layer. Okay, so again, it's up to you what kind of finish you want. You can stop at this if you don't mind, if you already like how deep the sky is. So I'm gonna go and prepare on 2 so that I don't have to stop midway. Okay, so I'm just basically using a deep purple with ultramarine blue and then black. So try out your colors, whatever colors you have, and try mixing them together. Your blues and browns, for example, they also make nice blacks. In my case, I wanted a purplish tinge to them. So again, it's up to you. Okay, so try mixing them up and see what kind of blacks you get, or darks, and then you can also document them. So you can, if you have your handy sketchpad, document the colors that you mix together so that next time you will know how to mix them again. There are times where I just keep painting and I don't document, and I regret it next time because for the life of me I could not remember how I got specific shade. So I'm telling you, save yours so that you don't have regrets later on. Sometimes you just get beautiful colors that you just can't seem to remember. Okay, so I'm just gonna do another layer. So this is fairly dry, not as dry as I would normally want it to be. Usually I would leave it for a few hours. Okay, so add on another layer. Make sure you get in between the explosions and not just the background on the sides. Okay, I like it. I'm just gonna add a little bit here and there since there's some left. And now the colors are even popping out. You can actually see the colors that you used early on, the oranges, the turquoise. So the contrast really is very important. In any work, whether black and white or color, contrast will really bring your color to life. So sometimes when you feel like you followed things, but it seems to be not working well, just look at your values. Maybe you just lack contrast. Okay, so now I'm again just gonna keep using the blow dryer because I'm still gonna add to this. But you can already stop at this. Like, it already looks like a wonderful, bright, and explosive sky of fireworks. So it's taking time to dry because since we applied a wetty wet and it's very heavily wet, it's going to take some time. So if you're not in a hurry, you can just leave this beside a window and come back later. Okay, so just dry enough. I'm just gonna get my metallic palette now, and I'm just gonna add some sparkly paint. So you don't have to do this. I just want it to do something extra. So if you have metallics, now is also a great time to really play around with it, which is what I will do. I don't often get to use them, and now is the perfect time to do so. So for this, I'm going to use a rigger brush so that I can do the long, thin lines really easily. So rigger brushes are really good for long, thin lines because of its long, thin hair. So it gives you really a good control and nice thin line. So I'm just going to add in between. Okay, so I need it wetter. Okay, so some pigments will take some time to awaken, so you can already spray it beforehand. Okay, so I'm just gonna add in between here and there, just nice thin lines. So I'm using gold. So I also want to use it here because our palette has so many differently colored metallics that it's really, this is the perfect work to actually explore it. So you're actually adding extra depth to your work. You have thicker lines, brighter lines, sparkly lines. So have fun with it. Okay, and now I'm going to move on to this. Okay, for this one, I'm going to use, which color is this exactly? Pink gold. Okay, so perfect with this red firework. Okay, so again, takes time to awaken. Okay, so this palette is called Prezioso, from precious metals and precious stones. So do you guys like to play with metallic watercolors? I like to use it for adding extra detail, extra sparkle. Okay, and now for the turquoise parts, I'm going to use, let's see, oxidized copper here, a brighter green. Okay, so again, awaken the pigment. Okay, so just streaks, long streaks. So it looks better if the lines are not of the same length. Yes, me too. It's I hardly use it, but sometimes for works like this, it's really fun. So it's fun to explore. Okay, so now I'm going to use some yellow gold for this part here, just to add the brighter, lighter sparkle. So you don't have to follow your reference photo exactly, okay? Especially for subjects like this, you're not doing portraits, so they don't have to look exactly the same. So this is the time to just really have fun. Usually I use metallics like when doing filigree-like works, things like that. So I guess it also depends on the things that you like to paint. Okay, and then here Let me use some of the green again. So just really making sure everything is balanced. So don't go overboard, just, you know, just enough. If you don't want to use metallics, you can instead use white gel pen or white gouache to add extra lines. Okay, so for here, I'm going to do that. I'm going to use white gel pen just to add extra texture. Thinner lines in, now to imitate the fireworks. Or you can use other metallic pens. So really, if you're not, you know, doing strict watercolor, some people are very strict. They you know, they don't want to use other things. But if you're not bothered, then go ahead and, you know, have fun. So now I'm going to do some purple for the other purple parts. So it will really show nicely against, your metallics will, you know, show nicely because your background is dark. So metallics are also fun to use with dark paper, black paper. So there's some purple here too. So everything is just balanced, not too much, but it adds an extra depth to your work. Okay, and finally here, let me just use some of the blue. Okay, so this is blue topaz. Just to add the frizzing part. Fireworks, I love firecrackers. Oh, really. Here in the Philippines, people go crazy with the firecrackers. You feel like there's a war going on outside. It's terrible. It's not enjoyable anymore. But fireworks I love because, you know, it's beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the gold and add here some gold sparkle beside the dots that I created. Just very roughly. Again, nothing has to be perfect here. They're fireworks, so, you know, fireworks just explode and they're just beautiful and sparkly. And here as well. So I'm going to add this gold all over where it makes sense, just to balance everything out as well. And again on these gold dots. And some circular reds here and there. So I'm really basically just checking my reference and adding parts that I feel like actually look great and I should also be here. You know, things like that. So again, that is up to you, depending on what you want to include. Okay, you don't have to include everything. Because some people, they get stressed because they feel like they should follow exactly. So don't. It's actually nice if you include your, you know, your own version of things. Okay, so just gonna add some gold here, just to show that, you know, fizzing, sparkling effect, and then a little bit of a smoky effect. So really, take your time. If you're not in a hurry like me, you can totally do this for a long time. And here's my final work. Okay, if later I might also add metallics here at the center to make them even pop out. But for now, I actually like my ending. Okay, so again, if you want your sky to be darker, just do another layer. So you can do 3 or 4 layers. You'll know when you've done too many layers with watercolor. When you look at your paper from the side, it's already starting to look glossy. So if it's like that, it means you're already doing too many layers. So just try to keep an eye out on that, because you don't want your finished work to be sticky. Okay, like you already got paint and wiped it directly on your paper. So okay, so I'm gonna flip back to my face now. Okay, and say goodbye to you guys. Okay, so this is the finished work. Okay, it looks better without the direct light. The direct light really, also eats up the color. So here's the reference, and then here is the watercolor. I love how it turned out. Very festive and very easy, actually. It's just the process is several steps, but actually they're all pretty easy and pretty doable. So I hope you'll try it out, and if you do, share it please with us, with everyone. Me myself, I'd love to see it. All right, so happy holidays, Merry Christmas, belated, and advanced Happy New Year to guys. So take care, and I'll see you next year. All right, bye.